10 shocking last words of death row inmates. Robert Towery. Towery committed murder by strangulation on September 4, 1991, in Arizona. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection and was executed in March 2012. Last words? I love my family. Potato, potato, potato. George Appel. Appel murdered an NYPD officer in New York in the 1920s. He was sentenced to death by electrocution, which gave rise to his infamous last words. Last words? Well, gentlemen, you are about to see a baked apple. Carl Panzram. Panzram was found guilty of 22 murders and committing 1,000 counts of sodomy. He was executed by hanging on September 5, 1930, in Kansas. Last words? Hurry up, you Hoosier bastard. I could have killed 10 men while you're fooling around. Thomas Grasso. Grasso was convicted of strangling 2 women to death in 1990 and 1991 in Oklahoma and New York. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection and was executed in March of 1995 in Oklahoma. Last words? I did not get my SpaghettiOs. I got spaghetti. I want the press to know this. Gary Gilmore. Gilmore was convicted of armed robbery and 2 counts of murder in Utah in 1976. He was sentenced to death and was the first person executed after the reinstatement of the death penalty in 1976. Last words? Let's do it. James D. French. French was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of 2 people. He was afraid to commit suicide, so he killed his cellmate to compel his execution. Last words? How's this for a headline? French fries. Gary Burris. Burris was convicted of the murder of a taxi driver in 1980 in Indiana. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection and executed in 1987. Last words? Beam me up. Aileen Wuornos. Wuornos was a prostitute who was convicted of murdering 7 men. She was sentenced to death by lethal injection and executed in 2002. Last words? I'd just like to say, I'm sailing with the Rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th. Like the movie, big mothership and all. I'll be back. Clarence Ray Allen. Allen was convicted of murdering 3 people and putting a hit out on people who testified against him in court. His request for clemency due to his age was denied by the governor, and he was executed in 2006. Last words? My last words will be, Hoka hey, it's a good day to die. Robert Drew. Drew was convicted of stabbing a man to death in Texas in 1983. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection and was executed in 1994. Last words? Remember, the death penalty is murder.